There are several very sharp differences between Russian and Ukrainian civil societies, and that also has a huge impact on youth in both countries. First and foremost of all, Russian society is an imperial society. For the Russian society, it's very important to be seen as strong, as dominating weaker neighbors, as standing up and being on equal footage with the United States. For the Ukrainians, that is not important at all. They really don't care that much what Mr. Obama or Mrs. Merkel think about Ukraine, unless it's very practical and has direct impacts on Ukrainian politics and Ukrainian economy. That's number one. Number two, Russian economy is much more dependent and much more dominated. Point number two, Russian economy is under the domination of huge state corporations, state-owned companies that produce at least 50, probably up to 70% of the GDP. That creates a huge class of people who are, in this or that respect, dependent on the state. And that means that these people will always worship the state as their provider, I would say. So I think that in Ukraine, the structure of the economy is very different. There is much more small and medium sized businesses there. And although they may not be paying some taxes, or they may be a bit dirtier, maybe a bit even controlled by local mafias, but still they do not have a single command center in Kiev, as Gazprom and Rosneft and the rest of them have in Moscow, being dependent on the Kremlin and being actually branches of the Kremlin. So this completely changes and makes, I would say, societal atmosphere very different in two countries. In Russia, many young people really want to achieve their careers and promote their careers and develop them in Gazprom, in the prosecutor's office, in the police, because that's where the money is. And going on an independent business path, for example, is fraught with lots of very unpleasant consequences. So some other young people choose emigration, for example. So in this respect, the societies are also very different. And thirdly, the Russian society seems to be a bit more traumatized by the legacy of fear that is left after Stalin's regime, after the totalitarian regime. The Ukrainians seemingly witnessed the same regime and were also victims of it, probably even to some bigger extent, if you remember the famine of the 1930s. But probably because of the rural element in the Ukrainian society, probably because of the lack of imperial elements. There is more trust and more community spirit in the Ukrainian society. That is not to mean that Russian society is doomed forever to wander in the dark, but definitely it will take a societal effort and probably some prodding from the top to create a new atmosphere which will foster trust between people, which in its turn will probably lead to a creation of a more vibrant, a more healthy and more active civic society.